Stay tuned. Bridges starts now.
Hi, I'm Schmelter, and I want to welcome you to Bridges today. Today on Bridges, my guest is Brett Swayn, and he has a wonderful story. A story from going and living as a homeless person to then being a chef at Fleming's, and now he uses his culinary skills and talents to help empower and equip with job training skills those that are homeless. And Brett, I want to welcome you.
Thank you, Monica.
I've been looking forward to meeting you. I'm fascinated by the journey that God has had you on, and your experience really as living as a homeless person taught you a lot. And so I'd like to hear a little bit about that and how you ended up being offered, a job at Fleming's through that experience.
It was in Dallas, Texas, where I like what Brendan Manning said. He said when Jesus ambushed him, I don't know how it worked for me in that, but he definitely came to a place of great brokenness for me, and he lifted me out of that. And
Amen.
It was this great fire finding out that God is real, and yet it was this very sacred as well. So I was in this very unique position of knowing that He had redeemed my life, and that coming out of such a brokenness and being presented with this new life of hope, I was just so excited to begin it, and I didn't know what to do. And during that time, I was given to go, as I understood it, to go to Nashville. Well, I opened up the book, finding, that He's real. You better try and do what He says.
Yeah, amen.
So I read in there in Mark how you're to travel with no money and just the clothes. And I took my staff, and when the time came, leaving out a lot of the story, is we all have a large story. I landed in Nashville on a Greyhound. And I was speaking to Him, please, just tell me who I'm supposed to meet. And there was nothing. There was no audible voice. There was nothing. And the desperation and the need was amplifying and intensifying the prayer. And I remember as the Greyhound bus pulled into downtown Nashville and I saw the Lifeway building with the cross, I just went, I didn't do any research. I knew God was going to do something great in my life, and I wanted them to know it was God. It wasn't me.
Right.
So I didn't want to prepare. Yeah. I wanted them to know. And seeing that Lifeway building with the cross, I thought, what city in America has a cross downtown? This is crazy. Yeah. This is wonderful. I knew I was going to be okay. And I didn't know where to go. Everywhere I went, I spent some time in Nashville, just sitting there going, God, everybody, I was just anticipating the next person would be the one.
If I'm understanding you, you come to know the Lord, and you really feel like in your heart He speaks Nashville. And your understanding of the scripture was just get out there and obey.
Yeah.
Just get there. So you obey, you come to Nashville, and then it's kind of like, okay, God, now what?
Now
and
what?
You're waiting for this instruction, and
Right.
you're waiting around, and He seems silent.
Yes.
So then
So then, yeah, I'm at the Greyhound, and the person that I actually befriend was a homeless guy. And he tells me that around the corner from the Greyhound, there's a mission. And I thought, what's a mission? You do that overseas, right? So he shows me what the mission is. And I walk in and I see the brokenness, and I see the homelessness, and I see the desperation and dirt, even if I may go there. And my heart sank. Except for I knew that Jesus is real. But I was like, God, what are you going to do with me here? I'm going to die. What are you doing? And he also told me about the downtown library. And that's where the homeless went. And I realized at that moment, oh my gosh, I'm homeless. And he walked down to the library, showed me where it was at, and I went up on the second floor because I just wanted to be surrounded by His Word. And I was praying and praying and praying, and I remember I was reading a Billy Graham book, and then the voice came over the intercom, and the lady said, the library's closing in 15 minutes. And I said, well, at least I know where I'm going. And then it was no longer a prayer. I closed the book, I put it up, and I just spoke it out loud, and I said, I'm hungry. And I went downstairs, and back then there were columns outside the library. And I looked over at one of the columns, and there was a brand new apple, untouched, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I went over to it. And as soon as I put my hand on it, He spoke. He said, why do you worry about the little things? And as He spoke that audibly, the scripture said that I know your needs before you even ask. And then I began to eat the apple, walk towards the mission, looking like I am sure a real crazy homeless guy, because I'm bawling my eyes out as I'm eating this apple. But they gave me the strength to go through the journey of being homeless, and I was at the mission for 4 months.
4 months, and that's a really long time.
When you're going through it, each day is like 3 parts to it. The morning, if I can just get to the midday, and then if I can just get the evening, and then if I can just get to sleep.
And what I hear you describing is that really, while some people may not have your same journey, God was leading you step by step to trust Him in an unusual way. I mean, maybe in a way that God hasn't worked in our lives, but yet I can see that God is leading you by the apple, by every little step. So you've got 4 months of homelessness, of living in a mission. Now, I've been to a mission. A lot of people watching may not. And, you know, they're wonderful places in that people get a place to sleep and something to eat. But, you know, it's not really hotel living.
No. And there were aspects to it because me being Australian, I had no way to contact my family. No one. He perceivably removed all safety net from me. I mean, that wasn't the case. And it amazes me that many people that go through these kind of things, they don't have the audible voice of God, or they don't have these kind of leadings. And they amaze me because my soul was so broken that it wouldn't have survived, I think, that kind of adventure, if you want to put it that way, without that kind of strengthening. So, you know, the aspects of missing my daughter and the pain of the isolation, but what it did was it strengthened my prayer life.
Oh, I would think so. I would think so. And I want to hear about how you got the job offer from Fleming's, but I do want to ask you, Brett, you know, when you're surrounded by other homeless people, did it change your view on homeless people, poverty, not having enough money? Did it change those things?
The miracle of my heart probably happened around the 3rd month, close to the 4th month of staying there. I remember becoming aware that my inner vision of the poor was pity. And that was kind of like a downward, oh, you poor person. Going through what you're going through. And slowly through the experience, I remember my interior gaze just raising up to becoming eye level. I learned compassion. Pity to compassion. They became my family. I didn't look at them the same anymore. In fact, the economy, as we were speaking earlier, the economy, heavenly economy just seems completely upside down to me. And I saw that the desperation of the poor, because they're on their knees, it draws God's presence in person. And the colors that they have are just so amazing, and the miracles that they get to experience. They see from God's hand. You may be giving them an apple or a $5 note, but for them, when I would hear from them, they would say, you want to know what God did today?
Amen.
Even in the middle of their desperation and their brokenness, it was recognizing the movements of God in their life on a level that I had never seen since.
Yeah, because if you're not in that situation, we're just sort of taking all this stuff for granted. You know, like our next meal, we've got shelter, we've got this, but when we find ourselves without those things, like when I shared with you, I worked at the Detroit Rescue Mission, and when I interacted with people who are trusting God for the next apple, for the next snack, for a bed to lay in, for somebody to be nice to them, a lot of them are totally depending on God, and it totally changed my view about everything in life, having that work experience, and that's what I hear you saying. And yet, Brett, you know, I think of you now, God allowed you to and led you to live in that, and now uses you to help people, you know, that are homeless. How did it happen? How do you go from being homeless to getting offered a job, you know, as a chef at Fleming's?
I was giving back while I was at the mission. I wanted to stay. I would help in the mornings in the kitchen. I had really a little bit of an experience, and I mean very little, from back home in Australia. I worked in a gold mining camp for a minute as a kitchen helper. But really most of it was that I liked to do it, but I wanted to give back at the mission. And so the mornings I spent to helping in there, and the grace that began to grow just on His presence on my life. And it was amazing because you have two kind of fields back there. You have transients and you have the programmers, and they're never the twain are supposed to meet. But the grace of God is that the programmers used to start coming to me to ask to go pray for these people and the miracles that I was seeing, and they even washed my clothes sometimes. It was just, I wore the same clothes for 2 months. But that's a whole nother story. But what happened was, while I was working and giving back in the kitchen, someone from Fleming's on community service, his name was Thomas, he came, and within about 10 minutes of working, he just said, "You seem like a decent guy. Here's my card. You know, if you need a job, let me know." Well, long story short, I kept calling and calling, and I went out there and I landed a job as an entry-level prep cook and a cleaner. And within a few months, they gave me the keys to the restaurant, God's grace, to open it up. The trust in that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, probably within a year of that, I think they started flying me to different parts of the country to open up other Flemings, train opening crews. And then eventually I became sous chef, second chef in charge.
You know, just that in itself is just miraculous. God's presence in your life, your obedience in all of those situations, and this heart that God crafted in you for other people, you know, and for homeless people. And so you have all these fabulous experiences. You're being jetted around all these different parts of the country. And now, as I understand it, you operate a restaurant called The Cookery.
Right.
And we're going to take a tour of The Cookery in just a couple of minutes. But tell me what you do at The Cookery and what the mission and objective is there.
It was interesting because my ministry partner, Terry Kemper, who just passed on about a month and a half ago from pancreatic cancer.
I'm sorry.
She saw this place, and I was at Fleming's at the time, and I'd been talking to Terry about this. We also have an outreach. We take in 60 to 90 homeless guys every Wednesday and Saturday.
How many?
60 to 90.
60 to 90.
Year round at Woodbine Press under Pastor Ray DeVries. And what we do there is we just offer them a place to stay overnight, but the need is much, much bigger.
Yeah.
Hope is a really, really big thing. It's one of the things about being homeless. Safe becomes golden. Hope becomes just life-breathing. So we wanted something, and I was talking about this place that I wanted to try and construct, a culinary school. She finds this place on 12th. Back then, 12th wasn't what it is now. We walk in and the windows were just holes in the wall, the toilets were holes in the floor, and she said, "God says here, city on a hill." And I looked at her and I said, "Are you sure?" And she said, "Yeah, we had no money, nothing." And she said, "Yeah, and it'll take about 3 months." And I said, "Okay." Well, as you can imagine, the miracles, people coming in and out and doing their little pieces. But it got to about 2.5 years. And I remember standing at the front door, and it was almost like it is as you'll see it. And I was like, "God, Terry's sick. I want her to see this open.
Yeah.
If you're not going to heal, if you're going to take her home rather than heal her miraculously, then I want to see it open. What is going on? If there's sin in me, let me know. I want to know. Let's get the doors open." And he stopped me, and what he gave me in spirit takes longer in words, but he said, "Do you remember what it looked like?" And I said, "Yes." And I pictured the brokenness and the absolute, you know, there was areas that were burned. And I said, "Yes." And he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "It's beautiful." And he said, "Do you remember what some of the people said?" And some of the people were pastors. And I said, "Yes." Some of them said it was too far gone, it would take too long, and it would cost too much. And he said, "So what do you think?" And I said, "It's beautiful." And he said, "So it will be with the souls that I send here. Some people will say, it's too far gone, take too long, cost too much, but I'm going to make them beautiful." And the purpose of the cookery has been restoring hope. That's really its name.
And you help train homeless people with culinary skills, give them the skills that they need for jobs in that place that people said was too far, too broken, and would cost too much. Thank you so much for coming and for sharing today.
Thank you, Monica.
Great story. We're going to take a look at the cookery right now. WHTN's Rachel Markin is going to take us in and take a look and see what God is doing in and through the cookery.
I was in a bad situation. I was homeless. I was sleeping in my van out at Walmart.
For years, Wiley Walker had struggled.
That was really kind of the point where I was giving up on myself, you know, because I had been in a homeless situation for a long, you know, about 15 years, in and out.
Without a stable place to lay his head down at night, Walker says life was hard. But his life was changed when a stranger told him about a new organization that was training homeless men to become chefs.
When I got here and I started learning, just the fact of learning how to do something, I guess new that I never really had tapped into, it just kind of opened up some new things in me. And the main way it's giving me a hope is helping me to believe that God wasn't done with me, you know, but I just believe that that God has a future for me, because I was in a bad situation and he brought me out of that, so just no reason for me not to believe that he had a reason for doing it.
Walker has learned a new skill set at the cookery, where he prepares food for those who dine at the restaurant. But he and other men here have also been taught about Jesus. The manager, Bruce Boland, says the restaurant is much more than it appears.
It's a place to come and worship Christ. It's a place to come. You can watch people pray before they have lunch, before they have dinner. People have Bible studies here. It's a place to lean closer into God.
The cookery's ministry gives men a second chance. It gives them a house to live in, a chapel to worship in, and the knowledge that God redeems even the most broken lives. Formerly homeless chef, Walker can't help but smile when he tells us about the day he graduated from the cookery's program.
One of the biggest ones was the graduation. I mean, it was just amazing to see how many people came to support us. My church, a lot of people from there, they came. A lot of Brett's friends were here, and my mom came into town. And it was just way more than I, it was just one of those special nights that's aged into my memory that I'll never forget.
The cookery's ministry gives homeless men new confidence in his skill and shows them how deep and wide the Father's love is.
I believe that the cookery is a place where men come off the street and they begin to live and learn how to live and learn how to be productive and get closer to God. So if anybody feels led to want to be part of that, then I think that the cookery is a great place to support.
If you would like to help out, you can do so by going to thecookery.org. There you can find a menu or ways to donate. For Bridges, I'm Rachel Markin.
If you're just joining us today on Bridges, we are taking a look at ministries that really reach out and serve our community and also serve the homeless. And right now we're going to take a look and talk about Sophia's Heart. And the founder of Sophia's Heart is musical artist Danny Gokey. And Danny, so good to have you here today.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Thank you for coming. I was so excited when I heard about Sophia's Heart and the great work that you're doing. And in a little bit, we're going to meet one of the families that are there. But tell me why you started it.
Sophia's Heart was started in a time of loss, actually, a time of tragedy for me. It was nothing, when I was a kid, I never dreamed about starting an organization. Although I had a heart to do things for God, I just never thought that he would take me down this road. And my first wife passed away unexpectedly. We were in our 20s. And after 4 years of marriage, it was so unexpected, and I felt very lost. And one of the things that really was a game changer in this situation was that her principal came up to me and he handed me a check, and he said, when you guys had health and dental insurance through her job, there also was a death stipend. And so he hands me this check, and it was for $39,000. And I'd never seen that much money in my life.
Yeah.
Although it's not a lot, but it wasn't a little
No, it's
either.
not.
And I remember just thinking to myself, immediately my heart sank in my stomach, because I felt like they put a price tag on her. And to me, she was priceless, and this meant nothing. And how, but that's not what they meant. Obviously, it's just during that time, it's such a difficult time. It's to help get over it.
Right.
And so I took that check and I just said, this can't be used for myself. Like, if I buy a car, that's almost like, or put a down payment on a house, it's almost like just a slap in the face. It's not keeping a memory alive. And so little did I know, God began to birth the idea in my heart to start a legacy and something in her name. And thus the name Sophia's Heart was birthed out of that time of my life.
Because her first name is Sophia.
Sophia, yeah.
And I think about, Danny, one of the things that you're sharing, and as I looked on your website, that you had a lot of really dark moments at a young age, and yet you allowed God to use those things to help you reach out to other people.
Yeah. And really, when you really comes down to it, we're really called, I believe, to two things in life. It's to serve others and to seek God. And obviously the underlying factor of that is love. Love is the main reason why we do it. But when we seek God, we find pleasure in serving others. And so really, this is a lesson that I keep learning in life. Because as humans, we like to be comfortable.
Yeah.
But in our comfort, all of a sudden we get to a point where nothing is good enough and we need more and more. And we've seen the rise, especially in Hollywood, of suicides.
That's right.
And we see, and so when we're walking through dark times, you know, the first reaction is, well, I need to get more. How can I satisfy me right now? And really, what God began to birth, and I look back at now, it's like He birthed a ministry. You're going to find purpose in serving others, in bringing healing to others. You will find healing for yourself. And we have the promise, and I believe it's Isaiah 58, where it says, you know, that our light will shine.
That's right.
As we're doing these things for other people, our breakthrough will come. And it's how it goes from heaven to earth.
Yes, that's right.
God served us by sending His Son, by His Son washing His feet, by His Son giving His life for us. It's how it flows here on earth. We find life, and we serve others, and we give life away and receive life by serving.
That's exactly
others.
right. And that's the way that God brings healing to our lives time and time again. And I'd like to talk about Sophia's Heart a little bit, the overall mission, and how people really, that those of you, you know, that are watching right now, how you can be a part and how you can help. Because there are probably people, Danny, that are watching that are absolutely without hope or don't know what's next. And what God may do is lead them to serve so that healing can come.
Absolutely, and that is where healing's going to come. Is, you know, there might be people listening right now who are just kind of buried in bed.
Yep.
Or maybe they bury themselves in work, or bury themselves by buying things or in wrong relationships. And let's take a step back, and what if God's calling them right now to serve someone else?
That's right.
To go maybe down and find a need and fulfill that need. You know, there's a hormone that's released called oxytocin when we serve.
Amen.
And excuse me, not when we serve, when we give. It's directly linked. Scientists have directly linked it to when we give. And so, you know, a lot of people out there are trying to get high in other substances.
That's right.
But there's a high you can get by giving and serving. You know, and that high, there's no side effects in the sense of happiness.
That's exactly
there's
right.
no, you know, and if it's a healthy addiction.
And it's not illegal.
It's
you
not
don't go
illegal.
to jail, you don't go to prison, it doesn't cost you money to get.
And, right, it doesn't cost you money, but then it also returns great value into your own life.
So because we're going to meet this family from Sophia's Heart, but overall, what do you do, and then how can people help?
So what we do at Sophia's Heart is we take in homeless families, the whole unit together, mom, dad, children, or mom and children, dad and children, or married couples. We bring them into our facility. Now, in our facility, we believe in giving people the best, because the Bible says, as when we do it to the least of these, we do it to Him.
Amen. And
so each room they come into is a brand new renovated room, which is wooden floors, brand new furniture, new redone bathroom and tile and glass shower. And then we give them a week respite. When they come into our program, immediately when they first come off the street, we give them a week just to get their, you know, take a deep breath and just get, because you know when you're hustling on the streets. And then we surround them with therapists, counselors, legal teams that help them clean up their criminal history and bad credit history, financial teams that help them rebuild the financial future. When they leave Sophia's Heart, they leave with several $1,000s in the bank, so they don't have to deal with slumlords again. And then we also teach them life skills. We have so many life skills, you know, dream building, but most of all, we give them Jesus Christ.
Amen.
We give them, and you know, the author of life and the one who can fulfill and bring hope where there is no hope.
And it takes time to do that. So you surround these family with all these different things. And one of my hopes in talking to you, Danny, is that there are probably churches and families right now that are thinking, what can I do to give back? Or that are at a place without hope like you were, but God could use that very place.
And there's different things. So if someone right now is just looking for a place, you know, Sophia's Heart is a great place to sow, you know, into and support. They can go to sophiasheart.org to learn more about that. Or if there's a local ministry around them where they see a need. You know, there is, I'm telling you, Isaiah 58, I really recommend the viewers to read that and watch what God does when you serve others. There's healing that's going to come to you. There's breakthrough that's going to come to you. And none of that, it's going to come to others through you.
Yeah. And you know, the counterfeit of that is, like, I know when I get in a hard-pressed time, I'm thinking about what can I do to make myself feel better? Like, what can I get? You know, what could I buy or what could I do? But when we do it God's way, which is to serve, it is so rewarding and such a blessing. I'm sure you've seen that from that $39,000 check that you got.
Oh yeah.
What God is doing.
Look at from that step, the building that we operate out of was given to me. Our building's worth over $6 million right now.
And it was given to you?
Given to me for free. That building that you guys
that we went and toured and
went to.
Did
that
the
was
story.
given to me, and that's a whole other story in itself. When you take the first step and you obey God, watch how He meets you. When you're faithful with little, He gives you more.
That's right, but you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Today's a good day to start, isn't it?
That's right, because sometimes we're thinking, okay, I'll wait just a little bit and then I'll start and I'll do this. But like people have to start now, and you just start with one act of obedience. And for you, it was the $39,000 check that you could have taken as a slap in the face.
Yeah, and just, but thank God, thank God that he when you're open to him, you allow him to have your way, and he had his way, and look at what's happening.
And it's still happening. Thank you so much for coming.
We're
going to take you right now to Sophia's Heart, where you can meet one of the families that are there and see the work that they're doing.
What would you do if you lost your home? Where would you go? We met this strange family at Sophia's Heart, and right away we found they were a family just trying to make it through the trials of life.
Cooking is something that just kind of comes natural for us. We enjoy doing it as a family.
Meet Anthony and his wife, Amanda Strange. They love to cook and both earn a living working with food.
I work in the kitchen doing catering and different things of that nature. We stay pretty busy, so.
The Stranges and their 4 children all live at Sophia's Heart.
We fell on some pretty hard times that kind of sent us through a whirlwind, and we kind of had our hands up.
Anthony says Sophia's Heart has given his family more than just a safe place to call home.
I will say that I have lost my way, along the path of my life. Coming from a Catholic background, going to church every Sunday, and as I've gotten older, especially with my family, it's been one of those things that have basically just slowly started just coming back into my heart. And since I've been here communicating with a lot of the people, it's been one of those things where I really do truly feel like God has sent me this way, and I've been blessed.
His wife Amanda says she doesn't want to put a label on religion, but she has a new hope for sustaining real-life change.
I would like to own my own home. I don't ever want to have to deal with the situation of being displaced or not having a sure answer for my kids when they come home at night. I want them to be settled and grounded and, always have home to come to.
The Strange family says Sophia's Heart has been a place of healing for their entire family.
With the struggle that we had gone through before we got here to Sophia's Heart, I really truly believe it was a blessing that we were able to come together the way we did and spend the time that we had to under one roof, really under one room, and just the love that we are starting to have with each other and the progress that we show every day. I think it's been truly, truly a blessing. It really has.
For Bridges, I'm Rachel Markin.
If you would like to contact WHTN, you can write to the address on the screen or call us at 615-754-0039 or visit us on the web at www.ctntv.org. If you would like to purchase a copy of today's show for $15, you can send a check to the address on your screen or call us at 615-754-0039. Be sure to mention the program number on the screen. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Monica Speaks TV today.
For more information on a guest, visit our website, ctntv.org.